Thanks for visiting our channel again. Once upon a time, there was a woman named Julie Andrews who had a voice that would never grow old and a career that lasted over 7 decades. Mary Poppins is a musical icon and a representation of innocence and purity. Hope, enchantment, tragedies, losses, and indescribable pain have shaped this life, although few realize it behind the luminous smile and timeless songs. Looking back at her life's journey at over 90 years old, Julie remembers both the glorious days on stage and the buried sorrows that still haunt her. She has overcome tremendous personal tragedy and devastating loss to become an inspiration to many who see her story as a sign of fortitude in the face of adversity. Pay close attention because you are about to go on an emotional roller coaster ride through Julie Andrews' life, which is filled with triumph and the will to keep going even when things become tough. Childhood and teenage years. On October 1st, 1935, in the English county of Surrey, Julie Elizabeth Wells was born. Though her family had strong ties to the arts, she came from a broken home where tragedy struck often. Engineer Edward Charles Wells was also a huge outdoorsman who made it a point to take his daughters Julie and her siblings on daily adventures in the garden. Julie has a special memory of her father from the day he took her outside to see an anthill while he was tending to the garden. A fleeting yet deep moment that calmed her nerves and gave her peace of mind. The peaceful existence, though, was brief. The outbreak of World War II in the late 1930s completely upended Julie's family life. Barbara, her mother, remarried vaudeville performer Ted Andrews after her parents divorced. Because of her father's insistence, Julie uprooted her life and settled in London with her mother and stepfather. It was not easy adjusting to life with Ted. At first, Julie only knew her stepfather as Uncle Ted, thus she had a hard time integrating with him. While Ted was instrumental in directing her towards a career in the arts, he also caused a great deal of tension within the family. Julie avoided him at all costs. The prospect of having to contact Ted Pop later on only added to her unease. Even at a young age, Julie's life was profoundly affected by World War II. The Nazis' air strikes on London were relentless, and Julie's family was always on edge. They had to make a beeline for bomb shelters every time the air raid sirens went off. Julie described the terrifying night her stepfather and mother slept next to a detonated firebomb, a reminder of the constant threat they were under throughout the war. The psychological and physical toll that these assaults had on Julie and her family was substantial. Even though the war was terrible, Julie's musical skill came out at the beginning. Ted Andrews first noticed her remarkable voice, which had an incredible range, when she was 10 years old. In England, Julie and her parents started performing in variety shows, delighting viewers while they endure the horrors of conflict. But behind the scenes, Julie's family life was getting more and more stressful. As if things weren't already tough for Julie, her mother and Ted both developed alcoholism. On occasion, when he was intoxicated, her stepfather treated her badly. Julie started experiencing abuse at a young age, approximately 9 years old. Ted began acting inappropriately toward her while he was drunk on a regular basis. Even though Julie was a little girl, she clearly felt scared and unsettled by what was happening. Because of her innate sense of survival, little Julie knew that what was occurring was dangerous and wrong, but she could do nothing to stop them. Things got even worse for Julie when she entered her teenage years. When Ted was 15 years old, he had one of his drunken tantrums and threatened Julie with physical violence. She was seriously violated in terms of both her safety and dignity. This was not your average harassment. In spite of her fears, Julie decided to secure her bedroom door with a lock. The only way for a little girl to feel secure in the house that should have been her refuge was to do this. Ted Andrews inquired as to Julie's motivation for installing the lock when he noted its existence. Julie lied because she was afraid of the consequences of coming clean. The only thing she stated was that she felt safer with the lock. A girl who was battling aggressive conduct within her own family, but was unable to communicate her struggle with anybody reflected in that simple statement. Barbara, Julie's mom, knew what Ted was up to, but she did nothing to shield her daughter. Because of this, Julie's feelings of isolation and desperation intensified. As time went on, Julie and her mother became further estranged. On her own, she had to confront the agony and terror. The assault was continuous and deeply hurtful to Julie, because she lacked the emotional support of her mother at the time. Even though she kept performing and making people happy, she was fighting against the demons from her background. Julie suffered emotional and physical harm as a result of Ted Andrews' behavior, because those scars never completely healed. Tragic events on her mother's side added to Julie's list of familial problems. Syphilis was the killer of her grandma, a sickness her grandfather had unwittingly passed on to her. Julie had a newfound empathy for her mother as a result of this loss, which deepened her own emotional suffering. A lifetime of struggles ensued for Julie as a result of her alcoholic father, abusive stepmother, and shattered family bonds. Music was Julie's safe haven throughout those turbulent years. She overcame the horrors of war and a broken family to become a symbol of light and optimism in an otherwise dismal world. As her innate skill began to shine through, she continued to perform nonstop to help support her family financially. She overcame the hardships in her life by finding solace in music during her darkest hours. Even though she started out at a young age, Julie Andrews swiftly became known as a unique talent in the arts world. Julie was introduced to the arts at a young age due to her family's connection to music and performing. She started performing professionally when she was 11 years old, and her incredible voice won over audiences. Julie's voice was loud and versatile, allowing her to stand out on big platforms. She stunned onlookers and critics alike when, at the tender age of 12, she made history as the youngest artist ever to perform a royal performance at the London Palladium. At the outset of her bright career, this was a major step. But Julie's creative journey wasn't always peachy. When Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM, passed on signing her following a screen test, it was a huge blow to her early career. Even though this was a devastating setback, Julie kept on since she was a young artist. The invitation to join the American version of the musical The Boyfriend was a turning moment in her career, and it was all because of her tenacity. Julie was able to shine on Broadway in her role. This enabled her to access even more expansive options in the global entertainment industry. In 1956, Julie Andrews achieved her acting career high point when she was cast as Eliza Doolittle in the musical My Fair Lady. She cemented her talent and status on the Broadway stage with this pivotal performance in her career. Working with co-star Rex Harrison, who didn't believe in Julie at first, was difficult, but Julie overcame his doubts and demonstrated her acting and singing chops. Both Julie's stage career and her film career were catapulted to new heights by the triumph of My Fair Lady. Julie Andrews made her Hollywood debut in 1964 as Mary Poppins in the film. Her breakthrough came in this musical, which helped her win the Academy Award for Best Actress. The film Mary Poppins catapulted Julie Andrews to Hollywood superstardom and was a cultural sensation in its own right. Juggling two enormous hits in the span of a year, Julie starred as Maria in The Sound of Music. Not only did it take home a slew of honors, but it also cemented its place as a cinematic classic. Julie demonstrated in these two films that she was a wonderful cinema star in addition to a gifted stage performer. Julie Andrews' varied performances in films like The Sound of Music, 1965, and Mary Poppins, 1964, kept enthralling audiences after her 1960s triumph. Works such as Thoroughly Modern Millie, 1967, demonstrated her adaptability even further. Julie was able to display her acting versatility in a musical comedy. Acting as Millie allowed Julie to showcase her comedic chops in addition to her powerful singing voice. Nodules that had developed on Julie Andrews' voice cords necessitated surgery in 1997, a life-altering event that she had to endure despite her fame. Making this choice was not easy. Julie, however, had no alternative but to undergo the operation because of persistent voice problems she experienced while performing in Victor Victoria on Broadway. One of her worst nightmares came true as a result of the operation. Because of the procedure's long-term effects on her voice, Julie is no longer able to sing, the ability that had been central to her professional and personal life for years. Despite Julie Andrews' best efforts, none of the therapies or new procedures she sought to revive her voice following surgery were successful. No matter how hard she tried, her once iconic, exquisite voice, a symbol of stage and screen, could never regain its luster. Julie took a major emotional and professional hit when she lost her singing voice. Nonetheless, Julie Andrews opted for a different kind of resistance rather than admitting defeat. She did more than just look for ways to feel better. She also helped pay for studies that would examine the topic of vocal health. In order to help those with voice problems, Julie worked with prominent medical professionals to fund and develop research. Although Julie was unable to regain her own voice, she served as an inspiration to many via her tenacity. Despite the devastating loss of her voice, Julie Andrews drew courage from her commitment to the arts and her desire to aid others through her support of medical research. Acting gigs that required Julie Andrews to go deeper into characters' minds and demonstrate a wide range of acting abilities kept coming her way. During this time, Julie had a breakout role in the musical comedy Victor Victoria, 1982, in which she convincingly played a woman playing the role of a male. After a long hiatus from the spotlight, Julie returned to the height of her career with this part, which did more than just confirm her acting chops. Whether it was in a musical, a comedy, or a role that demanded emotional depth, she effortlessly adapted and pushed herself to new limits. Julie Andrews' talent and commitment to the arts were on full display in all of her roles, from stage to screen. Julie kept appearing in films and TV shows throughout the years that followed. Julie became a household name on television, and even though vocal cord surgery cut into her acting career in the late 90s, she never stopped loving the arts. Rather, she transitioned to writing and voice acting. Julie Andrews' performance in Disney's The Princess Diaries series reintroduced her to a younger audience and solidified her place in their hearts. Year 2001. The year 2004. Her performance as Queen Clarice Rinaldi was another masterclass in acting. Her endearing voice also helped propel the success of other animated features, including Shrek 2, 2004, Shrek the Third, 2007, and Despicable Me, 2010. Julie Andrews has kept her enthusiasm and dedication to the arts alive and well throughout her career, no matter how difficult things got. Among the many accolades bestowed upon her are the Oscar, Golden Globe, and Grammy, and she is widely considered to be among the world's most accomplished musicians. In addition to her legendary performances, Julie's unwavering commitment to the arts and her capacity to motivate millions of followers throughout the globe constitute her lasting artistic impact. Despite the odd bout of rivalry or early disagreements, Julie Andrews maintains cordial ties with her coworkers and is widely recognized for her talent. Her romances with My Fair Lady's Audrey Hepburn and The Sound of Music's Christopher Plummer are among her most famous relationships. Even though they were obviously competing with each other in their own fields, Audrey Hepburn and I stayed close friends. Many thought that Julie Andrews would play Eliza Doolittle again in the film version of My Fair Lady, the part that had brought her fame on Broadway. But Audrey Hepburn was cast by the producers and director, and Julie was not. When these two stars went up against Mary Poppins and My Fair Lady at the box office, it became one of the most heated rivalries in Hollywood. Having said that, Julie and Audrey were not antagonistic or envious of one another. They were close friends for life and treated each other with the utmost respect. Both Audrey Hepburn and Julie were impressed by one another's talents and personalities. Julie especially appreciated Audrey's poise and competence. Christopher Plummer, with whom Julie co-starred in the legendary film The Sound of Music, was another major figure in Julie's career. Their relationship was rocky at first, even going so far as to nickname Julie Miss Disney. Christopher Plummer confessed he wasn't thrilled to be working with her. He was concerned that Julie wouldn't add enough depth to the role of Maria and that the film was overly sentimental. Christopher initially had reservations, but after seeing Julie's abilities and professionalism, he eventually came around. Over time, a strong and enduring bond blossomed between the two. They stayed close after the movie finished, and Christopher even spoke clean about how he should have known better than to underestimate Julie. Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer were close friends right up until the end of Plummer's life. They kept in touch and were there for each other through thick and thin. The way Julie Andrews interacted with her coworkers demonstrated not only her acting chops, but also her friendliness and ability to make and sustain friendships despite the cutthroat nature of Hollywood. In 1959, Julie's personal life took a turn when she wed Tony Walton, a designer. Tony Walton's creation of the costumes and sets for Mary Poppins was a highlight of her personal life during this marriage, which she entered into because of their shared love of the arts. Emma Walton Hamilton was born in 1962, the year the couple's daughter was born. Tony and Julie spend a lot of time together, working and bringing up Emma in a community that is vibrant with art and culture. But problems did arise in Julie and Tony's marriage. Their relationship grew rocky as they both became engrossed in massive artistic pursuits. They were legally divorced in 1967 following 9 years of marriage. Julie and Tony kept up a cordial relationship despite their broken hearts, with whom they persisted in working on subsequent initiatives. Even after Tony passed away in 2022, Julie continued to hold him in high esteem and express her gratitude for all that he had done for her. Julie met and fell for famous director Blake Edwards after her divorce from Tony Walton. Blake passed away in 2010, although they were married in 1969 and remained a couple for over 40 years. Both joy and hardship were part of Julie's marriage to Blake. Julie frequently recounted how their love blossomed as a result of their unwavering commitment, tolerance, and perseverance. Amy and Joanna Edwards, two Vietnamese girls adopted by the couple, brought much happiness into their life and enlarged their family. Not only was the brilliant and powerful Blake Edwards Julie's life companion, but they also worked together creatively. On numerous films, the two collaborated. Victor Victoria stands out among them all since it showcased their respective talents. According to Julie, Blake brought so much joy and fun into their lives with his unique sense of humor and polished character. Despite their joyous marriage, they had to overcome several obstacles. For a long time, Blake Edward battled depression, and Julie had to be there for him as a loving wife and a rock. But through thick and thin, they were there for each other, and their love only grew. Blake Edwards' untimely death in 2010 from pneumonia-related complications devastated Julie Andrews. Even though Julie had mentally prepared herself for Blake's demise, the sorrow she felt was still too great, she revealed. There will always be a hole in our hearts from this tragedy. After losing her loving partner, Julie had to confront this immense loss and go through the challenging phases of grief. She had previously stated that Blake's love inspired her daily, and that he was still with her in spirit, even though he was physically absent. In Julie's private life, her bond with Emma Walton Hamilton, her daughter, stands out. In addition to being Julie and Tony Walton's only daughter, Emma has been an invaluable collaborator and co-author on numerous of Julie's subsequent creative endeavors. Along with a strong familial bond, their relationship is marked by a profound affinity to art and creativity. Julie Andrews' present life is centered on her family and more whimsical creative pursuits. The poise and composure that have come to characterize her continue even at the age of 88. In particular, Julie's daughter Emma Walton Hamilton, with whom she has worked on numerous children's book projects, fills her home with affection. They have penned numerous acclaimed novels together, and Julie is still actively involved in the writing process. Having meaningful conversations with kids and telling them stories that she thinks will have a positive impact on their lives brings her immense satisfaction. Julie Andrews may no longer be active in the entertainment industry, but she is still involved in voice acting, having most recently served as the series Bridgerton's narrator. With voice acting, she can maintain a connection with fans even when she's not performing in front of large crowds. Julie is a regular at commemorative events and award shows, where she can meet her devoted fan base and pay tribute to her artistic legacy. Julie Andrews is still quite active in the worlds of charity and education, in addition to her creative endeavors. Since she lost her singing voice, she has been an outspoken supporter of vocal health research and initiatives. Those cultural initiatives and organizations that support children, particularly those that promote literacy and early education, have her full support. Julie Andrews' life is a vivid depiction, rife with both great triumphs and tragic losses. Julie has repeatedly shown perseverance and a mentality that never gives up, from the challenging years of her upbringing characterized by familial strife to her path to become a global celebrity and artistic icon. Julie persisted in her pursuit of happiness and purpose in life in the face of adversity, including the loss of her voice, the invaluable talent that had propelled her to stardom. Her example of kindness, tenacity, and love of the arts will live on long after her legendary parts have faded from memory. Please share your views and feelings in the comment section if Julie Andrews' tale has moved you. If you enjoyed this video and would want to see more like it, please subscribe to our channel. Looking forward to seeing you in our upcoming video. Leave it.